Welcome to the Ronin Author. I'm your host, Ryan McGinnis. I am the owner of S&D Designs, the owner of 217 Press, and a self-published author on Amazon. I created this podcast to be a support group for self-published authors where we could all come on here and talk about the good, talk about the bad, talk about what works, talk about what doesn't work, and just be real with each other. What I did not do is design this to be some type of guru podcast where I come on here and try to tell you everything I know. I'm not pretending to know everything. I'm not pretending to be like this great, best-selling author. I'm not. I've sold some books, but, could I sell a lot more? Yeah, probably. But the point of this podcast is no gods, no masters, no gurus, just like the Ronin in ancient Japan. So this is episode 4 of this series, and this episode is called Writing a Series is a Double-Edged Sword. So you might ask what I mean by that. And so to explain, when I first got into writing, I was, as I said in previous episodes, I came up with a lot of story synopsises, a lot of which are still just sitting in the files that haven't been used, that haven't been made into stories. I had a lot of different ideas, a lot of different genres, and I just put them all out there, put my ideas out there, and I picked one that I wanted to start with. And the one that I started with was a story called Tears of the Dragon, which was originally called The Silencer. And I'm glad I changed it because there's a whole other Silencer series out there. So I avoided some trouble by doing that. But the point is, when I first started writing, I was doing it as a hobby, and I just would do a chapter here and there and just put it together. And as Tears of the Dragon, as I got more serious about it, and as Tears of the Dragon started kind of coming together, I was reading advice, I was doing research. We'll talk about that in another episode, but I was doing my research, trying to learn what to do as an author and how to kind of be an author, how to function as an author, and everything that I saw, the advice that I saw over and over and over, all over the place, online, on social media, on the tube, everywhere, was that you needed to write a series. You had to write a series because writing a series was the way to go, and you needed to just pop out your episodes, bam, bam, bam. You'll build an episodic audience, and I get it. I mean, there's a lot of logic in that. There's a lot of logic in writing a series. So the funny thing was, I finished Tears of the Dragon. I originally meant for Tears of the Dragon to only be a one-off. I was just going to do this homage to like spy novels, whatever, and then I was going to move on to the next thing, right? And what ended up happening is I changed the ending at the last minute when I finished the book, and I was getting ready to, I'm starting to do the edits and the publishings. And one of the drafts, I changed the ending to kind of leave it a little more open-ended and leave this possibility for future episodes. And I did it because of that advice, and I think it's been cool. I think it's been cool because it gives you, there's pros and cons to it. And the pros of writing a series is that, your audience is supposed to build as the series grows. That sometimes works, it sometimes doesn't. I'll talk about that in a second. And new readers who come in and read the first book are going to want to read the entire series. And so, the theory is you sell somebody the first book, or you give somebody the first book, and they're probably going to buy the second or third book, or even the fourth book, whatever. And that's what you want, and you as a writer, you become familiar with these characters. You get to where you can write them, like the Tears of the Dragon series. I know what Xavier Green is like. I know what Stacey Martinez is like. I know what Bill Logan's like. I even know what the villain's like. Davos. I know how all that works. So it's easy for me to write, and then I just have to create situations for these characters to exist in. And now I'm on Silent Death. The Silent Death came out last year. And that was the 5th book in the series. I have to tell you, 5 books in, 1 book in, I was like, yeah, I want to write some more books and get my series built up and get my audience built up. And that seemed to be true. That seemed to happen. Tears of the Dragon came out, I worked really hard, put a lot of money into building up Tears of the Dragon. The Osiris Initiative came out. That carried on the momentum that seemed to grow, from Tears of the Dragon. Then we came out with The Delicate Art of Death, which I still think is the best title of any book in that series. But after the third book, I've really found that the readership kind of, it kind of drops off. It's kind of like, I've heard ideally you want, people that read the first one, you want over 50% of them to go to the second one. And I do clear that boundary. And then you want, then usually you'll have maybe half those people go to the third one. And that happens a lot. Once you get past the third one, though, the readership really drops off, a lot. And that has been, and there's a phone went off somewhere. I forgot to mute stuff. So, that happens. We'll just reach over here and hit the mute button. But that has been my problem, is that it seems to be diminishing returns as I go past the third book. And plus I get a little burnout. And it's not that I'm burnt out. It's not that I hate the series or anything, because I love the series. But I think the thing is that I have other stuff that I want to write. I have other books. I have other, and I don't have enough time. It's not like I'm just an author. I'm not like some, best-selling author that all I do is write. Because God, wouldn't that be the life? But instead, I just, I feel like there's other stuff I want to write, and so I feel torn because I want to come out with another book, but I don't want to lose the momentum I have with the Xavier Green stuff. And so, so that leaves me feeling kind of conflicted. And that's just me being real as an author. I'm kind of out here in the ether, and life got in the way a little bit this year, and I'm behind on writing, and now it's like, oh God, what am I going to do? I want to write Xavier Green, but I want to come out with this other book. And so, so that's kind of the pull. It's kind of like I don't want to say I don't want to write the Xavier Green stuff, but there's other stuff I want to do. And so there will be more Xavier Green stuff. Don't misunderstand me. I will be doing more Xavier Green stuff soon.